A very good morning. Welcome to Good Morning Uganda Extra. My name is Sharon Chondisha. It is a blessed day, a very beautiful one at that. 9 minutes past 9 a.m. I hope you're having a great day and you're glad to wake up and go do something to change your life or make your life better. Now, thank you so much for always watching UBC TV Inspiring Uganda. Today on the 14th of November 2022. A few months, 1 month actually, to get to the end of this month. Time flies so fast, I can't even explain. I am very happy today to talk about something that I think is a very big component when it comes to eradication of poverty, when it comes to inclusion, when it comes to fighting so many vices for us to have a better country. Now, Chapter 4 of the 1995 Constitution of the Republic of Uganda stipulates the protection of fundamental rights and freedoms, including the protection of freedom of expression, assembly and association, the right to life, right of women and children. And although these rights are not granted by the state, it should be noted that the state is under obligation to enforce these rights to tackle issues like poverty, amongst so many other issues. Now, today with me in studio is Alice Ruth Chazike, a lawyer and author who is here to talk about human rights as a corporate responsibility to all global citizens and how human rights, respecting that and understanding that these are innate, these are not given by the state, but then the state must be able to help people understand that these cannot be touched, these are given to them by God and they should be respected. For us to move from just a mere country to a well-developed country, one that respects women and children and finds purpose for every single person as a citizen. A very good morning, Alice.
Good morning to you.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Human rights. When we're talking about human rights, what are we exactly saying?
When we talk about human rights, we basically mean those freedoms, basic freedoms, that are an entitlement to every human being around the globe. Basically, to be specific, some of these rights have been entrenched in our laws, our governing laws. For example, here in Uganda, the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda fully embeds them, as you have said, but then it's still embedded in the international wardrobe. To speak in the perspective is that these rights are a basic to every individual. I can give an example like the right to life, right to food, and basically the right to economies, such as that's financial empowerment. Some of the things may not be orderly entrenched in the written law, but they impose obligations. There are social responsibilities which are directly impose an obligation onto the state to provide those for its citizenry. Therefore, I can say that integration of this in our law is not enough. We need more sensitization of our masses about these rights. For example, if we talk about economic rights, we are speaking about that ability of our people to put into manipulation whatever opportunities available to them to get out an economic gain. So we can speak about some of these responsibilities which are entrenched in the corporate responsibility. To retract a bit little, corporate responsibility means that obligation which is onto every citizen in the country to provide something to the other. That is, being your neighbors, if I can say, to break it down, being your neighbor's simple sham, if I'm to say, not to use so big English. And some of these components or ethics are therapeutic. What does it mean? Assisting another even when there is no obligation of a payment, such as funds. We are all obliged to help the needy. This, I can say, it stems from Africa and the world being people who believe that we were created by somebody. This stems from the Bible under Matthew chapter 5. We really see that those people encountered God through helping the needy, such as they gave the sick, they gave them bread, they cared for them. And here we see that corporate responsibility is stemming in that it is not required of them by law to do it, but they have done it in order to counter Christ. So what do I say? That we are called upon to hold the hand of one another under human rights as a corporate responsibility to all citizenries in the globe.
What are some of the examples of human rights?
Yes, the examples of human rights that I can give, the examples of human rights that I can give is one, right to shelter is one of them. Right to life, so fundamental. Right to education. Yes.
Those are some of the human rights. Now, when you talk about right to shelter, so what happens to the people who do not have shelter?
Yes. That is where corporate responsibility comes in. That those who have should come in, play the gap, and assist those who don't have. When it comes to people who don't have shelter, people with disabilities, can't we as global citizens come up together, devise means, even though means are there, but we need to a bit fuel them, increase, and help those who don't have. That's where I was stemming. It's quite ambiguous if I can say that money and modernity have occupied the place that God occupied in the medieval period. What do I mean? They've become so essential. They've become a very essential component of our world today.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a bit ambitious, but it is the truth. That's where the world is moving to. So, to those who don't have, can't you help this person without shelter? Can't you do corporate responsibility by assuming this person is you?
People have been helping, even in the times where modernity wasn't really a big issue. People have been helping and reaching out to the needy and helping, you know, carry on the other population that is really found needy. What then is not happening, because if this is a continuous thing where even companies actually have a budget put aside for corporate responsibility that they need to give back to society. For example, Stanbic Bank, I'll just mention, but Stanbic Bank has given back to so many people, whether it's schools and all these. Now, all those, you can see that there's a hand, you know, reaching out to people who do not have children, who do not have women, who cannot afford certain things. Then what aren't we doing? Yet we seem like we have been doing this for centuries, and the movement from one point to point B is a very small one.
I can say that we have a bit been doing it, but we need to increase. Despite of the very increased population currently in the world, in the global aspect today, we are having so very many people shrinking in poverty, very many shrinking in basic needs. There are a lot of people wardrobe out there who need education, with the children on the streets every day. Yes, that's why I say that let's come up. And on the hand, true, we do appreciate there are certain companies who have taken it so corporate and part and parcel themselves. I can give you an example of Salasin as well. They have done so good on entrenching some of these corporate responsibilities in their day-to-day running of their business. But then I say, let's continue. Can't we add a fourth step ahead?
Okay. When we talk about human rights, can that be a tool used to eradicate poverty at any point?
Exactly.
How?
It is one of the greatest tools that we can use to eradicate poverty, just as you have said. One, people have a right to education. Once masses are educated about it, people can know to use the opportunities available to them for the good. Two, dealing with a mass which has awareness, which is aware of its rights, it's a bit easier.
Do you think Ugandans are aware of their rights?
Very few.
Very few?
Yes.
If the youngest population, if 70% of Uganda's population is constituted by the youth, are the youth aware of their human rights?
That's where we are heading to. That can't we do much of the awareness? Can't we do sensitizing barriers and campaigns for the youth to know? Because economic rights is an invaluable right, is a basic right to all these youths that we see around the globe. Can't they involve in certain businesses? Others are idlers. If people are in the age of getting back to school, can't we do that corporate responsibility to bring a bit more back in schools to pursue their goals? Dealing with uneducated mass makes the country's objectives easily achieved.
You're talking about education being a big tool, and I'm wondering then, do you think the government has done enough to make sure that actually educating the masses can help in poverty eradication?
Honestly, to say our government has not done a bit good when it reaches the part of sensitization, because a lot of youths there having very wrong information, others are in darkness of lack of knowledge. They really don't know what to do.
What do you mean lack of knowledge?
Lack of knowledge in this way, they don't have what it takes to do that they dream to be. Fine, somebody tells you I would love to be this, but can't even explain how to reach to that, meaning there is a gap of knowledge which needs to really be addressed. And if it's to focus on that, we pray that our government may hear this and open up so many sensitizing barazas for our youth, because Uganda having the youngest population, 70%, just as you have noted, there is a lot more to be done within that direction.
Our curriculum has also been shifted from more of practicals than just theory. What else do you think the curriculum can have or have integrated in it for people to become more aware of who they are and become better citizens and walk away from being idle or just becoming normal citizens that don't really add any value to the country?
Yes, I pray that, yes, our curriculum should embed some of the social aspects into that curriculum, such as things which are not written, which we speak verbally, but create or generate an obligation to the world.
For example?
For example, like I can say like a right, or like to hold one another's hand, to support each other. I think some of these things should be really put in our curriculum so that right away from the first class, somebody is learning with that kind of ideology in him or her, that all helping another is just part and parcel of us.
But it is culture. It is actually culture for for not even just Ugandans, for Africans to always hold on to, like always help another person. Like I've seen so many people, even families, where you have someone take on and help like a whole clan, or we have this rich uncle and his aunt is paying tuition for their nieces, for their nephews. It's sort of embedded in our system and our culture to actually always help. So when you say that you want it to be integrated in schools, yes, I'm thinking it's already existing.
No, it's to... Thank you for that, but it is to a lower extent that it's only those families who have got an opportunity to be told that this and this happens, which it's 5% out of 100, because we really do know that there are a lot of people out there who are having family members who are able but who may not come through. That's why I say that it should be integrated right away in our curriculum as corporate responsibility, so that children and people out there can grow knowing that it is part and parcel of me to do something for my neighbor.
Okay. Now, when we're also talking about education, so that is what you're talking about, social responsibility being one of those to be embedded in the system, in the curriculum for people to understand the need of helping each other. Anything else that then would help us produce stars in schools and all-rounded students?
Yes. Another thing that can help us to really bring out vibrant stars in schools, just as you said, is provision being at the best forward in these schools. Let all the basic requirements that are needed, honestly, be provided to these children while in school, so that we can manage to articulate their concentration at one point. That is very key in case we are to bring out vibrant citizens once it comes to education. Let us spread the corporate responsibility of that. You see a school-going child, she really doesn't have the sense. You're a teacher, you have the capacity to do it. so that we can really breed a very good brand of citizens tomorrow. Because I really do know that what you do for this young kid or this youth may not just be forgotten. You will have entrenched that value in his or her daily things that he or she thinks about or does, and will learn to do the same to somebody else. Yes, so it is really very key on providing the basic needs while the children are in school to bleed out on adding on our beautiful curriculum. Providing basic needs is key as these children at school, so that their concentration is captured, and through that way you can really get very nice stars out of these schools.
We're talking about other people stepping into the gap of provision and helping all these people to make sure that we have greater citizens. What about the responsibility of where they come from? For example, their families. I understand poverty is a big issue. People are struggling. The economy now is even, wobbling a little bit here and there because of what COVID-19 did. And so people are picking themselves up. Yes, there are people to help you, but then what is the responsibility of families as well, where these children are coming from, so that the responsibility, you're not giving everything out to the government and somebody else to play a role in your child's life or education?
Yes. Sometimes these families can be there, but when really they are unable to bring out something economic to support their children, that's where I'm coming in, that can't government bring on the national dividend, because there is a national cake which is shared by everyone. For example, if I can say, here in Uganda, there is that national cake.
What do you mean national cake?
The national cake comes in this way, is that can some of the resources in the government pool be given out to some of these parents out there to have a startup, so that as well they can fuel or support their children. If at all government can't do it directly by supporting them themselves, let them empower the parents so that they are in position to do that they are supposed to do. That is where the point of national dividend comes in.
But the government is doing that. For example, Postbank and other banks have been, the interest rates are at, not even just Postbank, I forget the name of the bank, but they have an interest rate that is just fixed for people to be able to borrow money and start up businesses if they want, with a very friendly way of paying back. The government is doing certain things to help people. Where are we getting it wrong?
We are getting it wrong in this way, that money or such empowerment tools like funds stay in Postbank, which are loans at a low interest rate, and they are not aware. Money stays in the pool for a long time to check statistics of people who have picked, when they are very few. I'm speaking about the people who are so needy. I'm speaking about these people at grassroots who are really so poor that getting what to eat is hard, and even where to sleep. They are the people now I'm putting into quotation. Some of these ones are picked, some of these benefits are picked by elites. People already who are aware, people with knowledge. And now the real person that we would love to impact doesn't know this. Is not aware that there is such an opportunity in Postbank to pick money so that I can fuel this small business, and in a few months I'm able to provide basic needs such as education, shelter to my children. Doesn't know. What is the impact of that? People keep on remaining in linking under poverty, and by that we can't achieve human rights, to be honest with you, if people are not economically empowered. It's a misery, it's a deceit to ourselves. If we say human rights to the poor who slept hungry at night, who doesn't have where to sleep, the landlord is chasing him or her out of the house, and we are speaking about human rights, it can't be achieved. To be honest, the first thing to be done is economically empowering our people, then they will be in position to uphold.
So how can the government then economically empower people if some of the things that you're talking about are for the elites? How can the government reach the people at the grassroots to make sure that they're being helped as well and their human rights are being respected?
Yes, that is the point of sensitization. So great that if there is something at least that can make this person, the low citizenry down, to migrate from that level of not affording a meal, not affording shelter, not affording medicine when his or her daughter is sick, is in post bank, to fuel his small business tomorrow, to migrate into something big place. Sensitize them. Put campaigns, barazas in villages. Tell them, hey, these are the terms. Educate them. You get this, you take in small interest this. And once you get this one, use it in this way. In that way, honestly speaking, parents will be able to support their children in schools. They'll take them to better schools with good education. They'll pay their medical bills. It's so ambiguous and unfortunate to believe, but there are people out there who can die just because of lack of 1,000 to transport him or her from where she is to hospital for treatment. To be honest, these people are still existing in our country. But if that person is empowered economically, 1,000 is no money. Can put this person on a transport and in no means is in hospital, receives treatment and is okay the following day.
And the hospitals we're talking about?
Yes, we are talking about government hospitals which really have equipment and manual power. Those are the nurses and doctors in these hospitals. So the point I'm trying to drive on is that we can't achieve human rights. Poverty is a great barrier to human rights. A very great barrier to human rights, killing both the young and the old. So what do I say? Let our government sensitize people, if at all these incentives are variable, so that our people can know. And if they get the money, educate them. How should they use them to prioritize out or get out a benefit? I'm a bit pessimistic, if I can say, about the way most of the people in the village are living their lives. Live here in the city. Here in the city, people are a bit better. But way back in the village, it's full of misery in some homes, though not all.
For example?
Yes. So, for example, deep in villages there, people really are having children who are in sugarcane plantations. You find a child of 7 years, 10 years is in sugarcane what? That's already a violation of his rights. Because by 7 years he's supposed to be in school or she's supposed to be in school, receiving basic education. But they're in sugarcane plantations, working for a living. All that is bring poverty. Due to poverty, even when we speak human rights may not yield much. So what do I say? We pray, let our people be empowered. If such great incentives are variable that can make them move from one level of life economically to another, let them be available to them so that their life can change in a wide perspective.
Do you think education for the girl child specifically would make a change or a difference in the country?
Education for the girl child alone can't make such a difference, a big difference. We need to touch, where are the boys? As you're educating the girls, you're educating them to get into entanglement, if I can say so, with this boy, to come into connection with this boy. He's not empowered. What does it mean? We shall not achieve the goal.
The essence of educating a girl child was because, or emphasis on the girl child was because many people or the government felt like the girl child was being left behind. Even in many families, for example, you talk about villages a lot, and in those families, a boy is given more priority because for a girl, once you turn 18, someone might come looking for you and you get married. So I'll concentrate on the boy who will marry somebody else so that he's more empowered, he has values as a man, and he will have to take care of a family one day in the future. So more emphasis was put on the girl child. Do you think that that has worked, or now we are forgetting another gender and it's creating a whole problem?
Yes, to be honest, we are forgetting another gender, which is the boy child, which is fueling as more problems as possible. Because these girls we were empowering are getting married to these disempowered boys who at the end of the day subjecting them to a lot of domestic violence, and moreover, homes are a mess. So on record, nowadays single parenting has increased.
Yes.
I was hearing the First Lady last week talk about it. They have increased. Why? We are having empowered women, marrying disempowered women, disempowered men who don't know what to do. They are beaten, cut, all the forms of domestic violence, psychological, emotional, physical, all of them are happening. And at the end of the day, it's a mess. So as we empower, boy children should be taken to school just as girls do. More so, even people with disabilities. As we are doing this, we should not forget, as we are economically empowering boys and girls, empower people with disabilities as well, because they are part and parcel of our society and the corporate world we are living in today. Yes.
Thank you so much, Alice. We'll just take a short commercial break, and we're still talking about human rights and how the respect for human rights, but also understanding that they play a vital role to eradicate poverty, that because of this, the country might be able to move forward. We'll take a short break and we'll be back with more on that topic.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
The Ministry of Health informs the public that there are confirmed cases of Ebola in Uganda. We, however, urge the public not to panic as the situation is being managed. The Ministry of Health further reminds the public to be on the lookout for any persons who may show signs and symptoms of Ebola. These include high body temperature, abdominal pains, diarrhea, vomiting, bleeding from the body openings such as the nose, eyes, and mouth. Please inform the nearest health worker immediately if you see anyone with these signs and symptoms. To prevent Ebola from spreading further, please take the following preventive measures: regular washing of hands with water and soap, avoid handshaking and hugging, avoiding any contact with any suspected Ebola patients. Any person who dies suddenly should not be buried but reported to the nearest health worker or LC1 immediately. For further information, please call the Ministry of Health toll-free number on 0800 100 066 or send a free SMS to your report on 8500. This message is from the Ministry of Health with support from UNICEF and World Health Organization.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
Simply make a small deposit of 99k and pay the balance mpola. You can pay in daily, weekly or even monthly installments while you enjoy your new phone. So what are you doing today? Visit any MTN shop near you and get the MTN cupboard. That's super easy.
We bring you a fresh, well-researched program to help you identify opportunities for investment, job creation, growing your entrepreneurial skills, wealth creation, and social transformation.
We have a product that is ready for schools, supermarkets.
Create wealth, transform livelihoods. Every week we showcase opportunities for creating new products and services.
I now harvest a lot of cocoa. When I harvest it, I sell. After selling, I put money in my project. I have two projects. One is for construction of my house. Two is for educating my children.
Excellence in innovation, the passion and drive to succeed, and the right mindset to grow your business. Create wealth, transform livelihoods. Brought to you by Operation Wealth Creation.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
You're still watching Good Morning Uganda Extra with me, Sharon Chomdish, and Alice in studio, a lawyer and author, and how human rights are relevant to the economic, social, and environmental aspects of corporate activity. We're still talking about education as a tool to help in understanding human rights, and then also how human rights can actually help in the eradication of poverty. Going back to education, we have seen that, you know, a big percentage of students, of children have actually enrolled in schools, So the number is sort of lessening with those that are not in school, but then we are producing children or we are producing people that are able to maneuver through life, but then they're lacking in certain aspects or certain skills. And that's why I think the Ministry of Education then decided that more practicals would be a big investment than just having people learn about things theoretically. But is it also about, do we have an issue with the quality of what we've been taught in schools?
Yes. Honestly to speak, there is an issue with the quality of what is given, yes, of what is given. That is why I do appreciate the recent improvements which have done, but they've not yet taken effect. If I'm to say, they've not yet been taken effect at a wide spectrum, that some schools have not yet adopted. But I do appreciate that practical aspect which has been incorporated. But what do I say that? Let us add that bit of corporate responsibility in our curriculum specifically to improve the brand of our graduates currently today. Because we do appreciate a lot more people now have gone to school with this sensitization that has gone on a wide spectrum, but then let us incorporate some of these key aspects of life in our curriculum. We get to appreciate that most of these things were not written in the law, but were known as a matter that they would impose a responsibility onto another. But we are advocating for entrenching them in our school curriculum so that our brand of graduates are better. They know what to do once it comes to the social aspect of life. Because after school, what comes out, we face the world. The world which doesn't know what has been in class. No. What they need to is for you to bring out the social aspect of you. That is what society and the world at large demands.
Do you believe in affirmative action? And we've seen this tool also being used across the globe to make sure that a place that is lacking maybe a certain gender, mostly women, is women are being empowered to fill these positions. On merit, not sure. So do you believe in affirmative action?
Yes, in one way or the other, I would say I believe in affirmative action based on the notion that some of the people who are really low are lifted. For example, we are looking about women. If we are to say how they were marginalized, putting the African traditions back to Africa, putting the traditions to play, they were really marginalized. So sometimes holding their hand, putting in such incentives, basically aimed at uplifting them, is a bit better. And I would say, to a great extent, I do support affirmative action as well.
Has it proven to work? Is it really just about women or marginalized section of people filling up positions for the sake of filling up positions? Because when we go back, we won't mention names, but when you go back and sit and look at some of the people that have filled certain positions, or to a bigger extent, are they really even playing a role are they even matching up
with the required standards?
Yes.
To be honest, affirmative action, once it comes to the bit political part of the spectrum, has not yielded much more. That it has been used to play like politics more than the reality that it's expected to play. So we are just humbly praying that let affirmative action be used to do that objective that is supposed to play, such as just economically lifting somebody's position, just empowering them to be that, to match with the required standards, putting
and
development
not lowering standards for the sake of affirmative action.
Yes.
Okay. We talked about one of the human rights, which is a fundamental one, right to life. Do you believe that Uganda actually understands that right to life is a fundamental action, is a fundamental human right?
Yes, I would say that yes, here in Uganda we really do recognize a right of life as a medicancy to our human rights notion. That's why if you are to, on a wide spectrum, if you are to concentrate on our laws here in Uganda, the death penalty, we have taken so many years without executing, that people who really deserve a death penalty, or people whose punishment is a death penalty, have been shifted to serving life imprisonment. So we really do mind that a right to life has been given that priority that it deserves.
We'll go to some of the reports that have been on the internet, and mostly reports accumulating and coming up because of periods that sort of have intensified human interaction, like the election periods. You've read some of the reports, you're a lawyer and an author. With those reports that have been circulating from the opposition, or whether UNHCR has recognized and written certain reports on violation of human rights, what do you have to say about that?
Yes, I would say that during the political season, to be honest, it is true that human rights are not given that priority of position that it tends to take when it's not a season of politics. Such as people sometimes are beaten up, they are battered, but then we call upon an improvement. Even when it comes to that political season, can't we devise better means of handling our people when they go astray, rather than battling, assaulting, and so much? We have seen this much more, though we thank that Uganda police has a bit improved, that if you are to really to see the report of 2011 on elections, the foregoing years, you really come to discover that a bit they have improved on the way Uganda police handles people during that period of election. Slowly by slowly, there is some improvement, though not the best. So we are praying that much more increases in improvement when it reaches to handling people in the time of election period, so that we suit our standards and realize the sustainable development goal by 2030.
You're an author?
Yes.
How many books have you authored?
I've authored 2 books so far.
On what exactly?
The first is The Mystery of Human Rights in Africa, which envisions the right on African women and their children and how they can adventure within the new developments of the world. It's quite a very good book which advances more on women and children, their rights, responsibilities, and what is expected of them. Yes, another book is called Economic Times. Basically, it's economics devastates more on valuation of the currency within the public domain, and much more with the GDP as well.
So you're very passionate about human rights?
Yes, very, very, very. I'm so passionate once it comes to human rights. I really do love it, and it's the center of my heart.
Where can people get those books from?
Yes, people can get these books from Uganda Bookshop. These books are in Mukono Bookshop. They're everywhere on internet, Amazon. I'll really be very glad when you get a copy of these books.
Okay. Any parting shots as we come to the conclusion?
Yes. The parting shots that I can give is that it becomes an irony to speak about the mendicancy of human rights when people are shrinking in massive poverty. I therefore pray that for human rights to make a meaning, we really need to adopt some of the economic discipline to empower our people economically for human rights to make real sense in our world and Uganda as a country at large. And I do pray that it is given the priority in our world today and Uganda at large.
Thank you so much, Miss Alice. That is Miss Alice Ruth Chazike, a lawyer and author. Please go ahead and purchase her books. She's very passionate about human rights, fundamental human rights. Everyone has those, and government can only help to fuel or sensitize people to understand that these are innate, that these are given to you. You actually ought to live a good life because of these human rights, and that, you know, with these, then people will improve economically. Women and children will be more inclusive in so many other departments or so many other sectors, and that we get to produce better citizens who understand and who respect human rights. For example, the right to life. Thank you so much for watching Good Morning Uganda Extra with me, Sharon Chondisha. Have a lovely day, and do join us again tomorrow at the same time. Bye-bye.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
The Ministry of Health informs the public that there are confirmed cases of Ebola in Uganda. We, however,